Welcome to Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. You feel the pressure of rising gas prices every time you fill up at the pump. But you may be feeling it in other ways that aren't as apparent, including increasing costs for seafood, vegetables, and other groceries. It's affecting people from roofers to the number of available Uber drivers. We'll talk with Native business owners and individuals about how gas prices are affecting them. That's coming up after the news.
This is National Native News. I'm Jill Freitas. A newly filed federal lawsuit alleges 2 Las Vegas hotel casinos enabled years of sex trafficking tied to convicted sex offender Nathan Chasinghorse. The civil complaint was filed on behalf of 2 survivors and names Boyd Gaming, Station Casinos, and other entities as defendants. The suit alleges trafficking occurred at properties including Cannery Casino and Hotel and Santa Fe Station Hotel and Casino between 2014 and 2022. According to the lawsuit, Chasinghorse used his position as a self-described spiritual leader to manipulate and control women through coercion, isolation, and threats of violence. The complaint alleges the women were forced into commercial sex acts while hotel staff ignored visible warning signs. Attorney Alex Marcinko represents the survivors.
People like Nathan Chasinghorse don't operate in a vacuum. He doesn't exist without other entities allowing him to.
The lawsuit alleges hotel staff repeatedly rented rooms to Chasinghorse despite signs the women were being controlled and exploited. It also claims the hotels financially benefited from the repeated stays.
There was obvious signs of the torment that these women were undergoing at these hotels, and nothing was done. The hotels were glad to take the profits from Nathan Chasinghorse staying at their hotels and casinos, all the while that these women were suffering.
Chasinghorse was convicted earlier this year on sex trafficking and sexual abuse charges and sentenced in April to 37 years to life in prison. The lawsuit was filed under the Federal Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act, which allows survivors to pursue civil claims against businesses accused of knowingly benefiting from trafficking ventures. Marcinko says the case could also raise broader questions about accountability within the hotel industry.
This is a problem all across the country, and it's not just Las Vegas, and it's not just in this case. The hotel industry turns a blind eye to the human suffering in sex trafficking. It happens far too often.
The lawsuit seeks damages for the physical, emotional, and psychological harm the survivors say they endured. Mount Edgecombe High School in Sitka has a unique program that brings Alaska Airlines employees, known as GLAM Ferries, to help students from villages across Alaska get ready for prom. KCAW's Hope McKinney reports.
For the past 14 or so years, volunteers with the Prom Prince and Princess program have helped Mount Edgecombe students get glammed up for prom. They do hair, nails, and makeup, provide jewelry, shoes, corsages, and boutonnieres, and even do alterations on the many donated suits and dresses.
So I'm really happy to be here because I love doing hair and makeup.
Lisa Lynch is one of the many glam fairies helping in the crowded room.
So I'm happy to be able to do this for other kids whose families can't be here to help them like that.
I wanted shimmer and I wanted glitter, and that's exactly what they gave me.
Alonza Topcock just finished her turn in the makeup chair. She says her prom look is inspired by the 2001 Mariah Carey cult classic, Glitter. She says it means a lot that people volunteer their time and to donate clothes and makeup and jewelry when she and her friends don't have their family members nearby to help out. Freshman Andrew Adams from Mentasta Lake is hovering at the entrance to the common room with his friends Calvin and Kaysen. Adams went to a middle school prom a couple of years ago, but this is his first high school prom.
Are you all going to go up and ask some folks to dance?
Maybe. Yeah.
Despite some nerves, Adams and his friends eventually ask one of the volunteers to help them get ready. Circling back around with them afterwards, refreshed and ready to head out, they seem like they're going to be just fine. Reporting in Sitka, I'm Hope McKinney.
And I'm Jill Freitas.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Tribal Development Partners, helping tribes build toward their goals through 105L leasing and essential facility development, empowering sovereignty, strengthening community. More at tribaldevpartners.com, proud supporters of this show.
Hear that? Tribal college faculty do so much, one can't say it all here. Nothing but respect. Visit mostthoroughdescription.com. The American Indian College Fund supports this program.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.
This is Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. A report out today from the U.S. Department of Labor shows rising gas prices are a key driver for a spike in consumer prices overall. The report from the Trump administration says the price of gasoline is up nearly 30% from this time last year. Across the country, some small business owners are having trouble factoring the increase into their bottom lines. At the same time, some tribes in the oil business are getting a small windfall from higher gas prices, and tribal gas stations are seeing an uptick as they offer slightly cheaper gas free of some fuel taxes. Today on our show, we'll talk with those feeling the ripple effects of soaring gas prices. We'll speak with tribal leaders, we'll speak with farmers, and we'll also speak with a native oil and gas industry expert. Listeners, as always, can join us with their comments or questions. Just call us at 1-800-996-2848. Tell us, how much are you paying right now at the pump? Let us know, 1-800-99-NATIVE. Joining us now from Lower Brule, South Dakota, is Boyd Gorno. He is the chairman of the Lower Brule Sioux Tribe. Chairman, hello, and welcome to Native America Calling.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Joining us from Window Rock, Arizona, we have Bill McCabe. He is the principal of McCabe and Associates, and he is Diné. Bill, welcome back to NAC. Good to have you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Good morning.
Joining us from Lafourche, Louisiana, is Jason Petrie. He is the owner of Bayou Rosa Oysters, and he's a citizen of the United Huma Nation. Jason, hello. Welcome to Native America Calling.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for bringing awareness to this topic.
You bet. Can't wait to get the conversation started. We have a couple more guests. Also joining us from New Mexico, Aztec, New Mexico, in fact, is Kira McCabe. And she is the founder of Scoden Farm, and she is Diné. Kira, welcome to Native America Calling. First time having you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And joining us from Lee, Arizona, is Lionel Big Thumb. He is the owner and CEO of Black Streak Holdings, and he is also Diné. Lionel, good morning, and welcome to Native America Calling.
Good morning. Pleasure to be on. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You bet. It's a pleasure to have all of you on the show. And Chairman Gorno, I want to begin with you. What are you hearing from your tribal citizens about the price of fuel right now? How are they taking it?
Oh, they're taking it pretty tough. They're spend a lot more time on horse than they are their ATVs and riding around in trucks, and we're just about done with calving, and it's really took a toll on them, on their bottom line, that is.
Yeah. Chairman, it reminds me of a joke I once heard on the res. You come up to an intersection, one person is driving a truck, another person is riding an ATV, and a third person's riding a horse. Who has the right of way? Hey.
That's for sure.
Well, let's get serious though here. I mean, tell me more. The tribe's farming operations. How does fuel price affect how those businesses operate?
Well, right now, to put an inch of rain on, before the gas prices went up and before the war, it was around $80 an acre, and our inputs are going to be about 120. It rose to 125 an acre. If we don't raise 11 more bushels an acre, that's 11 bushels we're going to lose overall price wise. And farm wide, it'll be $202,500 is what it's going to cost us, in additional, and half of our farm profits go to the tribe, which helps LEAP and other programs. So it's really going to sting everybody.
Sure sounds like it. Now, this, of course, is playing out across the country, farms, agriculture operations, and you also have your own private farm, and you have a cattle ranch, Chairman. How is it affecting you personally?
We're riding more horse, and we're and we've always cabbed out in the pasture, so we've never had him enclosed. So we're covering a lot more ground, and but it's been working out okay. It's going to hurt our bottom line as well. I guess we'll find out in the end, because usually you know where you're sitting about halfway after branding season, so we'll know more in June. But I think it's hurt every rancher and private and enterprise.
You mentioned your horses, right? What about the cost of feed and other products that you need to maintain your livestock? Are those prices increasing?
They have risen a good 30% just on probably from the mill to where we get it at the store. So yeah, it's affected that. And also on our farm, we used to sell at FOB. They would just come and get it. And we saw an opportunity to hire tribal members. We bought a truck and we got them hauling our grain. We got one load that goes to Hamburg, Iowa every day. And it has affected us $180 per load. In the end, it'll be about $46,000.
All right, Chairman. Thank you for these updates here. Coming to us live from Lower Brule, South Dakota, Chairman Boyd Corneau, Chairman of the Lower Brule Sioux Tribe. And Bill McCabe, Principal of McCabe and Associates. I want to bring you into the conversation. And what are you hearing about rising gas prices affecting Native people? Again, especially people living in rural areas such as Lower Brule, South Dakota, or other parts of Indian country, Bill?
Well, I think the current fuel prices, gasoline prices, have a significant impact on our tribal communities. Here on the Navajo Nation, Diné Bikéyah, we tend to drive long distances to get to where we need to go, half hour, even 2 hours. And so we depend greatly on our vehicles to do so. And so gas prices have a significant impact on those communities as we try to make our way to even just to get to town and to take on buy the necessary goods that we need to take back to our homes and our communities. So that's a big impact that I've seen. Tribes tend to have an inordinate percentage of expenditure, especially disposable income, towards energy, their utilities, and other related expenses. And then when you throw the current fuel price on top of that, I think that, it exacerbates that impact that we're all experiencing now, not only in Indian country, but across the United States. So, yeah.
Bill, President Trump says he's going to suspend the federal gas tax. That amounts to 18 cents a gallon. How much relief might that bring to everyday consumers?
Well, if you look at the gas price, let's just use $5. It's up from $3 up to $5. Every penny counts. I know all of us tend to look around for the cheaper price, even if it's a penny or two. So I think 18 cents is somewhat relief. But overall, though, the $1.50, $2 increase just is not going to be going away anytime soon, as long as the current conflict in the Middle East is ongoing. It's affecting oil price, and the gasoline price is directly related to the oil price. And so, at the outset of the show, you mentioned that fuel is up 35%, 33%, whatever the number was. Prior to this, the conflict, the oil price was at $65 a barrel, and now it's at $101. So there's your 33% increase in fuel prices. And so, until that subsides, we will continue to see this type of pricing in the convenience store market.
Okay. Bill, what about state gas taxes? Any momentum towards suspending or reducing those levies?
Well, I haven't heard anything offhand from the states in the South, but tribes actually have an advantage when it comes to state taxation. We're not impacted by state taxation per se. And so there are a number of tribes that are sourcing their fuel from a tribally owned fuel supplier. And when that transaction takes place from the tribally owned fuel supplier down to a tribally owned convenience store, the taxation is not applied to the price, I guess the wholesale price, or the rack price is what we call it. Mm-hmm. And so, tribes can take advantage of that. And some tribes have. The issue there is, there's a competition in the local regional market. And so if a tribe were to lower its price significantly, there could be certain outcry by non-tribal entities. The other factor there is, the convenience store is a revenue source for the tribe. And so they want to be able to, optimize and if not maximize their revenue, their net profit in that retail business.
All right, folks, we're going to take a break here in just a moment, and we just kicked off our conversation here today with Chairman Boyd Gorneau from the Lower Rural Sioux Tribe and also Bill McCabe, principal of McCabe and Associates, and we're learning how rising fuel prices are impacting Native consumers. Also, Native businesses as well are being impacted. How about you? What are you paying at the pump? I know I just put on Facebook a picture of what I paid the last time I filled up my car, and maybe you'd like to do the same. Check out our Native America Calling Facebook page or Instagram or any of our social media platforms, or you can go to our website, nativeamericacalling.com as well. And so many of us are dependent on our vehicles to get us to and from work, to take our kids to school and activities and all the other responsibilities and errands that we have to take care of every single day. So let us know how you are carrying on in the midst of these high gas prices that we're all living through. What are your thoughts? Share your experiences and your perspectives. The number is 1-800-996-2848. An outbreak of hantavirus on a cruise ship abroad is putting renewed focus on a serious illness that has connections to Native Americans in the Southwest. We'll discuss how Native patients and medical professionals play a key role in what the world knows about hantavirus and what is being done to control the outbreak. That's on the next Native America Calling.
Support by the American Indian College Fund. The American Indian College Fund provides millions of dollars of scholarships to thousands of Native students every year. Tribal citizens of every age and experience are eligible. The deadline for applications is May 31st, and you can find everything you need to apply at collegefund.org. That's collegefund.org, or by phone at 800-766-FUND. Education is the answer.
Thank you for listening to Native America Calling today. I'm Sean Spruce, and we're speaking with Native small business owners and others who are affected by high gas prices. You can join this conversation with comments and questions by calling the number 1-800-996-2848. That is also 1-800-99-NATIVE. Tell us about how the current gas prices are affecting you on our social media pages as well. So let us know. Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. One of our guests today, Bill McCabe, is the principal of McCabe and Associates. He's on the line in Window Rock, Arizona. And Bill, before break, we talked a lot about how the gas prices are impacting consumers, and especially with regard to retail gasoline. But some tribes, including your own Navajo Nation, invest in oil production, and they're making money right now. How is this moment a boon for domestic oil production?
Well, there again, as we mentioned, oil prices have gone from $65 to $100 a barrel, and that is a significant increase in revenue towards oil-producing tribes. So the Navajo Nation, Southern Ute Tribe, Jicarilla Tribe, the MHA Nation up in the Northern Plains, all those energy producers are seeing a significant increase in their revenue. And so I guess what we need to be able to do is be able to transfer that revenue impact, increased revenue impact back down to the communities as we go through this period of hardship. And so whether tribes are set up to do so in their government structure, that's something that it leads to discussion as well. And so, but what you really need to do is start looking at how can the tribes who are energy producers work with those tribes who aren't, that would ultimately promote intertribal energy commerce, so that we could all share the wealth in a certain sense, and then enjoy the benefits of the pricing that we could control within our communities ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Bill, you came on our show a few years ago and you described how some tribes are working to become fully energy independent by owning all parts of oil and gas production. And here we are now, 2026. How much closer are tribes to achieving that?
And thank you for reminding me of that. That was probably about 15 years ago. We are a little closer now. Tribes, the big advancement with tribes is taking on the responsibility of operating and owning and operating their own energy resource. So whereas we were once passive royalty participants getting 1/8 of the piece of the pie, now we're getting 8/8. And so, that's just from the extraction of oil and or natural gas. And so now we're participating in more of the revenue train, the value chain. So we're involved in transportation. So we produce our gas, we pipeline it down to a refinery. Refinery converts it to gasoline, and then now we're participating in the retail activity of convenience store, gas stations. The missing piece in that picture, though, is a refinery. And so there are actually tribes working on refinery projects. There's actually legacy refineries that might be available on or near tribal reservations that tribes can either take ownership or participate in. So I think once we can achieve that, the full value of that, the chain, the production chain, then we can start realizing, true benefit towards our communities and our economic sustainability relative to energy production.
Sure. Bill, I want to ask you one more question before we move on to our next guest, and I'm going to put you on the spot. I have to do it. I know you mentioned earlier that this is all really the result of the current conflict and turmoil in the Middle East, but can you give us any idea of when we can start expecting gas prices to lower again, or maybe even thoughts with regard to when things might calm down a little bit in the Middle East?
Well, let me check my Facebook page and see what it says today. No, I think we've all seen the news. As of today, the peace agreement is in jeopardy, but it's hard to say. But what I can say is once this conflict subsides, we will see a residual effect on oil prices and as I described, fuel prices, gasoline prices as well. So if the conflict were to, let's just say, end today, it'll be a 3 to 6 month lag time with regard to the impact on fuel prices. There's so much damage to the infrastructure on some of the major oil supply, worldwide oil supply. And like we've all read, the tankers are stranded in the Gulf there. And so we're just looking at how, as far as the total oil supply, it's a world market. We participate in a world market, including the tribes. So again, going back to how can tribes help each other and help themselves, I think we're making great strides towards that. In fact, right now the federal government has made historical efforts to work with tribes under the Trump administration to provide support to producing and developing their energy resources across the board: oil, natural gas, coal, and other resources vital to the economy, not only to tribal communities, but of the United States as well. So there's a lot of funding going on, a lot of technical support going on, and I've been involved in some of those conversations with a number of tribes as well as we look to see how we can take advantage of this window that's open with this current administration.
Bill McCabe, principal of McCabe and Associates, joining us on the show today. 1-800-996-2848 is the number to join this conversation. Again, I'm very interested in hearing how our listeners are being impacted right now by higher fuel prices. And let's head southeast now, all the way to Lafourche, Louisiana, where we have Jason Petrie on the line. He is the owner of Bayou Rosa Oysters. He's a businessman. And Jason, you farm oysters as opposed to harvesting them in the ocean. You're situated there along the bayou near the Gulf. Can you describe how the cost of fuel affects your business?
Yeah, so we're greatly impacted. We usually go out 2 to 3 times a week to the farm, and getting to the farm is a process. It's a long drive to get there by boat, and then we work the oysters and usually deliver directly to customers and restaurants usually that day. So it's a long day, a lot of traveling, and so like I said, we would go out 2 to 3 times a week. But with these fuel prices, margins are thin, so we're kind of scaling back now, just going out 1 to 2 times a week to the farm. And so unfortunately, that affects the product a little bit. They're not getting worked as much as they should. So we're seeing decreased profits, and our quality has dipped a little bit.
What about your other fellow tribal citizens, fishermen, shrimpers, and oystermen like yourself? How are they holding up?
It's not good, man. The trawling season opens this week, and usually that's the happiest week of a fisherman's life. They're just so excited for it, and some are deciding to remain tied up and not even go out just because of the cost. Here we're getting hit hard with imports, so the price of shrimp is down to $1.50 to $2 a pound, and we're seeing over $5 a gallon for fuel. So the math isn't working for a lot of folks right now.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jason, you have an interesting story here. Your grandfather was a traditional fisherman. He also trapped and harvested wild oysters in the parish. And you were actually a critical care nurse for over 15 years, and then you made a pivot and you decided to follow in your grandfather's steps. Tell me more about that motivation to make that change and how you've seen the local seafood industry evolve since the time of your grandfather.
Yeah, oystering goes back with our tribe thousands of years. The sacred mounds we built that date over 1,000 years ago contain oyster shells. And so my grandfather was an oysterman. His dad did it to some extent. So as far as we can trace back, it's always been in the family. And in early 2000, we were hit with the BP oil spill. And so my grandpa was in his 70s at that time. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to recover from that hit. And so, like you said, I was a nurse in California where I saw how oysters are grown in other ways than just relied on the natural reefs. And so we made that transition as a way to kind of get him back out on the water and keep that family legacy going.
Well, Jason, tell me more about the business of farming oysters. Just give us a little rundown on what a typical work date looks like for you and a little more specifics in terms of just how much this cost of fuel is impacting that.
Yeah, so we get oysters at the size of a couple millimeters, and then when they're that small from the hatchery, we have to work them frequently. So they at that stage in their life, they double in size sometimes every couple of days. So it's a lot of trips back and forth to the farm to just kind of make sure their growing environment is conducive. And then, that's just the price of fuel with all these little trips. We're in seed season right now, so we have a lot of baby oysters that we're getting ready to put out. And so it's just gonna be a big hit for a little while.
I know you don't want to raise prices because everyone is feeling the pinch right now, but at what point do you have to consider that option? And also, who do you primarily sell your oysters to?
We sell directly to restaurants. and a few customers, but we have a few restaurants that we keep supplied. And so, they're feeling it on their end with the downturn in the economy. So I really try my best to not raise prices on them. So, unfortunately, we usually take that hit. And if we do have to, we have really good relationships with the restaurants where that temporary hit, that if we have to pass it on to them, that would be okay.
Now, do you have other family members involved in the business with you?
Yeah, so I have a brother whose primary residence is in D.C., and he comes down and helps out. And my father-in-law, whenever I'm in a bind and need help, it's a small family affair, and so I like to rely on them when needed.
Jason, it's a pleasure interviewing you today. Thank you so much for joining the show and informing our listeners about your business, Bayou Rosa Oysters in Lafourche, Louisiana. Best of luck to you going forward, okay?
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's now talk with another Native business owner, and we're going to go back to New Mexico, Aztec, New Mexico, in fact, where we have Kira McCabe on the line. She is the founder of Scoden Farm. And Kira, I want to welcome you back to the show. And you, of course, are a first-generation farmer, and you specialize in growing organic and traditional Navajo foods. And I know that the cost of fuel and fertilizer has tripled in some areas. How are you handling these prices?
Oh, yeah, it's hitting us pretty hard in this region. Price of diesel right now is at $6 at the pump. It's affecting all our diesel for the tractor, having to adjust our budget to allocate more funds for that, as well as I'm having interns this season. So it's important to have help, but they're also coming from about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So it's going to be impacting them this season as well as when we during harvest time, we like to deliver a lot of our produce to Albuquerque because it's a large urban population that is interested in our product, but we are also considering delivery fees and having to increase that. And yeah, it's been difficult for sure.
$6 a gallon for diesel to run your tractor. Tell me a little bit more about your profit margin and how you were able to adjust to factors like fluctuations in gas prices.
Profit margin wise, I think the numbers are still being calculated. I'm still establishing the business. So we established in 2025, and so far it's been kind of a slow startup, but it's affecting even just small businesses getting up off the ground as well.
Well, you've been running this business now, as you described, for a little more than a year. Tell me more about how much work has gone into it at this point, getting it up, situated, running, and building a customer base.
So in New Mexico, where I'm at, I'm pretty fortunate. We have our state launched a program called New Mexico Grown, where we supply to institutional sales like school districts, nursing homes, food banks. But it's all about, we have to drive a certain distance to get there, especially Southwest. We always are driving long drives all the time.
And the food products that you're able to produce right now, tell me more about those and who are your primary customers?
So this season, we're growing a lot of white corn, which we steam underground for 12 hours at a time. I also like to grow blue corn. This year I'm having Hubbards, like melons, squashes, growing a bit of tobacco, and we give that to whoever's interested in the product. And mostly I like to supply to food banks because the food banks are able to, pay that price and give it out to the communities that really need it. Which that's why I really enjoy doing this work, because I want to give traditional foods to the community in a way that is most affordable to them.
Kira, how many acres are you farming?
This season, it's about 2.5 acres. Last year, it was about 2 acres, so about just half-acre increase, but every year I'm hoping to add on more subleases to my operation and keep growing. I do want my own farm eventually, and it's just about keeping it going.
And you're a first-generation farmer. What inspired you to take this on? It seems like such a big project, but you're obviously doing really well.
Oh yeah, I didn't grow up in agriculture, and I got really interested in it because of the COVID pandemic. It made me realize, you go to the grocery store and you saw the shelves clearing out and people panicking over food. So I wanted to learn how to be more self-sufficient and to be able to grow food. And I got connected to the Biddy Baby Foods Farmer in Residence program. They're a really interesting program. They are training farmers to be able to go to market, especially young farmers like myself. I'm their first operational business that has come out of that program so far. And they showed me how important traditional food is. They put me in different spaces, like conferences, and it made me realize how there's really a lack of young Native American farmers, and they're all throughout Indian country. I'm in different programs connected with First Nations, and I'm the youngest one in the program. And I really thought to myself, hey, like I can be a leader. I can, be an example for my generation for them to see that they can grow traditional foods as well. It's needed. We need our foods to survive. We need to keep adapting our seeds. Yeah.
Thank you, Kira, founder of Skoden Farm. Stay with us, listeners. We'll be right back.
Support from Davis Keelan Law Firm, a New Mexico firm standing with Native families suffering catastrophic loss. When tragedy strikes Indian country, Davis Keelan fights to restore stability, dignity, and justice, bringing a voice to Native families and communities for 20 years. More information, daviskeelan.com.
Kaufman & Associates has over 35 years of experience serving Indian country, supporting growth, transformation, and sustainability of tribal programs. More at kaufmaninc.com, KAUFFMANINC.com.
You are listening to Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce, and we're going to continue our conversation with Native business owners and others as gas prices continue to remain steep. Listeners can join the conversation by calling 1-800-99-NATIVE or continuing the dialogue with comments on our website and social media pages. Our next guest, Lionel Big Thumb, is the co-owner and CEO of Black Streak Holdings. He joins us now from Lecce, Arizona. And Lionel, your family owns several tourism operations that span Sedona, Antelope Canyon, Monument Valley. You have planes and helicopters for charter flights. I looked at your website. It's a really, really exciting business. Tell us how your operating budget is impacted, though, by the price of fuel.
Well, it's pronounced Lecce, Sean, but yeah, Lecce is a border town to Page, Arizona. So that I just want to give you the location and idea where we operate out of. So we do tours in the Antelope Canyon, and that's done by gas vehicles, tour buses that we take in and drive them in. We do have flights that we do with helicopters and airplanes out of Sedona in the area. I guess the industry is kind of a little bit different from the others that you talk to, and tourism has been always been rapid growth in this area. And we've been a tourism town, or honestly, the nation itself, Navajo Nation, has been a tourism hub. So we've definitely seen it since the 80s and then into now, and then we've seen it get affected in 2009, 2019. And so it can be affected, but one thing I want to elaborate on is tourism is people are going to travel. They're going to want to experience things. They've saved up for it. They planned it. So So we do have an upside here in what we're doing, and that is people are still traveling, during this conflict, and even during COVID, there was people still traveling, but everything was shut down, but there was still people traveling. We wanted to experience the Southwest. So in April, I took over. Well, we took about one specific tour. We've done about 5,000 people in the month of April. So what we're doing is we're flying them in from Sedona to Page, as well as visitors come to our site here in Lachee, as well as we do flights into Monument Valley, as well as the ground tours when we do land there and get them in there. So the gas prices are up, and there's nothing we can do. We just have to eat it. But the bright side, upside, is people are still traveling. They're still coming to the Southwest. And so right now we're getting in our second quarter, and summer is rolling around. So we're getting numbers. Numbers are still high on reservations. So we definitely are watching the prices for sure. Well, for myself, I want to watch the market, and right now the market, I can tell you, in the United States is better overseas. Right now, overseas gas prices are even crazier, and they're going into having to go into their reserves. And right now, I think people are wanting to get out of the European countries, wanting to get out of there and come here and travel and follow through with their plans. So we're still having travelers. There is an impact. The fuel prices are high. We're paying $4.70 to $5 for unleaded right now, regular, and then we're on fuel aviation prices. We are doing about $7 right now for low lead and Jet A. Sorry about that. One thing I want to point out is Lake Powell is right next to us, and this is a recreation lake, and it's still a lot of water in it. And I can tell you right now, gas fuel prices down there at the docks is from $12 to $15. So what I'm saying is people are still traveling, and there is still tourism going on, and we definitely are operating, and we're hiring employees right now. But the impact is the prices are high, but and the end of it all is we are still seeing people traveling, and that's the upside of it all. So we are employing. Like I said, we're hiring guides right now in all the different areas we operate at. So that's kind of I guess it's not how the impact is, but we're still thriving, in the situation. But the impact is, our overhead's high on fuel prices, and our mechanics of our vehicles and airplanes and helis. It's there, but the consumers are still coming, so we're definitely okay. And the hardest time was during COVID, when really everything was completely shut down, and we've been in a recovery, but from tourism is rapid growth here. It's always growth at least by 15%. So for us, when we talk about our growth rate for our companies, we like to implement a growth rate every year as well, and we did that this year just because we knew we're still in recovery from COVID. So that's what we've been managing out here, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet, Lionel. And as I understand it, so you have the charter tours and, the flights and all that, but you've got other aspects of the business as well. I know you're a photographer. So tell me about some of those other features that you have going on that maybe are a little bit more immune to fuel prices.
Well, we definitely, I'm a artist. I guess how I always explain it is I'm an artist before a businessman. I'm definitely a visual artist at that. I do a lot of photography. I've done some a music video, and I still like to get into a short film someday. Really, right now, just the biggest thing is creating jobs. But I do I do photography. Right now it's just still photography mostly. I'm about to hang 3 prints up in a hospital called Echo Cliffs. Is what I do, for myself. And I've been around photography since being in tourism, especially in Antelope Canyon is in my family's backyard. So I've been around a lot of professional photographers. So that's my interest there in wanting to be an artist first and foremost. But that's kind of, my approach, into doing business is just from the artist's perspective. But that's really what I do. Just in the artist area is just my still photography, Sean.
Got it. Yeah. Well, this is really interesting talking with you, Lionel. And as you describe it, right now the business is strong and tourists are still coming and they're willing to pay to travel and partake in all the experiences that your business offers. But what about if these gas prices just remain persistently high throughout the summer? Or what if we see a bigger spike and perhaps we could be looking at an increase of 25 or 30% over the course of the next few months? How might that impact the business?
It definitely will affect us at the pumps for sure. And I keep looking. I'm definitely. I stay on top of our bookings and reservations, and I can say that when the administration came in, there was a lot of shakeup with the Trump administration when it came in, and people were definitely canceling their trips here, especially from Canada, and it definitely. I guess what I'm trying to get at is we've already been shaken up before the war. So from what I've been seeing is the reservations and the bookings have been consistent. People are still booking and again, the market across seas is not as bad as here in the economy. So we still have foreign travelers coming. So it's looking good for the year, but we are watching it. And again, I think the prices being paid here compared to the visitors they're paying at home is way significantly different. So they're enjoying themselves and they're traveling here. So but on I guess on the impact side is as a company, we are eating those prices at the pumps, and we would like it for it to go down so we can generate some profit this year. But we'll feel it. But if we can just keep marketing and stay open and operate, then we're good, and we'll just have to recover the following year. But again, I feel like we've been in a recovery mode for a few years now, since 2021. So we've been making sure that we budget correctly and have a good significant growth rate in the following year and putting back into the company. So, yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Jason, tell me more about the aircraft that you folks fly. I know you have helicopters, you have planes as well, and I'm just interested in hearing more about the maintenance costs that go into those aircraft. And also, I don't know how often you have to buy new aircraft, but how are the prices with parts and suppliers and all that? This is not a cheap business to run, I imagine.
No, it's definitely not. And I'm at we're at a starting. We're starting. Well, I'll just give you a rundown of what we fly right now. So we fly Cessna 207s, the smaller engine prop planes, single. So we have about 3 of those. Right now what we're trying to do is we have 8 and we sold 5 out, but what I'm trying to do is upgrade up to the next 208, Cessna 208. So our planes are anything like the jets or turbines or anything like that at this time, but we're staying with the smaller planes. And then our helis, we do have to watch the hours on all our aviation, the airplanes as well as the helis. So well, I've just recently sold one of two of my helis, and right now what I'm looking to do is upgrade to the EC-130s, the Eurocopters, the newer models with quiet technology and such. So we're kind of shifting around and upgrading and staying small, if anything, within our capacity right now. But we'd like to grow our fleet down the road, and tourism is there. We know tourism when we decided to go into aviation as a family. The biggest thing we went into aviation for is contracts, federal contracts, tribal contracts. You have the systematic award management system out there, SAMS, that we'll be registering for. So that's where we diversified here after the pandemic occurred. We said, well, tourism can get affected, and it can be affected all the way down to these fuel prices for sure. But that's or anything pandemic wise. But that's when we decided to diversify and get into aviation and be able to go into these federal and tribal contracts that are out there, and being 2/3 women owned and Navajo and Native American owned, that gives us some priority. So that's a little backstory of why we went into aviation, but we know tourism. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for mentioning those federal contracts, because fire season is upon us here, and I know there's a huge need for chartered aircraft and firefight. So is that a sideline of your business as well?
Yes, sir. Yep. Firefighting, not medevac right now, but firefighting, heavy lifting, utility work, and even charter. Yeah, that's what we're looking to get into.
All right. Thank you. Lionel Big Thumb, co-owner and CEO of Black Streak Holdings. And I want to go back to Kira McCabe, founder of Skoden Farm, as we wind down the show. And Kira, you've had a chance to listen to other business owners and also an oil and gas specialist from the Navajo Nation. I'd just like to get your comments as well as we wrap up the show and hear your overall vision for the future of Skoden Farms and how you're going to go forward in contending with some of these challenges like the fuel and also weather, I know, is an impact as well that you have to deal with.
Oh, yeah. Well, everyone's hurting in every industry because of, fuel that we've mentioned already on the show. It's, especially in the Southwest region, as you were saying, like the climate, we're getting hit really hard with heat waves. It's kind of been a bit odd. We've been getting a lot of, frost coming in, and it's, we should be planting now. People have already planted, and then it died. It's hurting all of us, but we can just keep pushing forward. For me, myself, I'm not going to stop my work. I'm going to keep farming, and even if I don't, break even this year, I'm going to still keep going, and that's all we can really do for everyone in every industry. We're going to keep pushing and working hard to, all flourish in our own businesses and industries as well.
Absolutely. Kira, one more question before we have to close it out. What about water? Are you impacted at all by some of the droughts that we're seeing in the Southwest?
Oh, yeah. That could be a whole other topic we can get into on another podcast. I would love to talk more about it.
All right.
Southwest, yeah, we're getting hit hard with the drought. We didn't get snowpacked like we were all hoping for. It's going to be a really interesting year this year, especially.
All right. Thank you, Kira. We need to bring you back and talk about some of these other issues that you see as a farmer. In fact, all of these guests have been wonderful. I'd like to bring them all back and learn more about their businesses and also what they see for the future. But right now we're out of time, so we're going to have to wrap up the conversation. I do want to thank our 5 guests who joined us today: Kira McCabe, Lionel Big Thumb, Jason Petrie, Bill McCabe, and also Chairman Boyd Gorneau. Please, listeners, join us again tomorrow when we will get insights into the new hantavirus outbreak. Until then, I'm your host, Sean Spruce. You've been listening to the one, the only Native America Calling, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Tribal colleges and universities support their students in countless ways. They say I believe and offer help before it's asked.
Hear that? That's everything tribal college faculty do for their students on Fast Forward. Because if one tried to say it in real time, they'd be here all day. They teach, guide, comfort, and connect. And for that, the community is grateful. Learn more at mostthoroughdjobdescription.com. The American Indian College Fund supports this program.
They give extensions, cheer progress, share laughter, create calm, and allow reflection. They inspire hope, share wisdom, guide gently, validate healing.
Who protects Indian country? Amerind does. As the only 100% tribally owned insurance carrier, Amerind helps strengthen tribal communities by providing reliable insurance coverage and keeping dollars in Indian country. From property and liability to commercial auto and tribal workers' compensation, Amerind is here to protect what matters. Celebrating 40 years of serving Indian country. Learn more at amerind.com. That's AMERIND.com.
Native America Calling is produced in the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation, a Native nonprofit media organization. Funding is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting with support from the Public Radio Satellite Service. Music is by Brent Michael Davids. Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.